Okay, hello and welcome to lesson 2 of Inequalities, topic 28, Inequalities. So in the previous lesson we looked at this first bullet point. We're now going to look at a couple of things, but we're going to look at the solving linear inequalities, so this number 3 here. If you were able to do all the questions from last time, then please tick this first one here. Okay, we're going to look at number 3 here. So solving linear inequalities is going to be your title. And essentially, you will be relatively familiar with the idea of solving equations already. Some of you might be very familiar with the idea of solving inequalities, and it's not a massive stretch to go from equations to inequalities. The rules are exactly the same, okay? So when I'm looking to solve an inequality, it is just the same as solving an equation. I'm looking to isolate x and to work out the value of x, okay? So when I look at something like this, I solve that as if it was a normal equation. I look at that -1 and I want to add 1 to both sides. And then I'm looking to get x on its own, so I'm going to divide by 2. And I'm left with that. So x is less than 5, and that would be my answer. Okay, there's no trick to this. It is just simply solving it as if it were an equation. Okay, leave the symbol where it is, and then solve it like that. Okay, so copy that one down. Very similar with this one. So again, we're just looking to get x on its own to work out the value of x. So first thing I would do is to take away 2 from both sides. I'm then looking to divide by 5. And in terms of an answer, you can write this as a fraction or a decimal, it doesn't matter too much. So 4/5 or 0.8, either of those is absolutely fine. And again, that's your answer, that's where you'd stop. So sometimes they'll combine the two different things that we've done so far. So solving inequalities and also then representing the inequality onto a number line. So if you look at something like this, the solving initially, as we've talked about, is the idea of just solving it as if it was a normal equation, okay? So with this, looking at the +6 there, I would subtract 6 from both sides. Now being careful with my negative numbers there, 2 take away 6 is going to give me -4. And then finally, because I've got 4x there, I want to just get 1x, I'm going to divide by 4. So x is going to be greater than or equal to -1. Now once you've got that answer, this part B, if you like, is to represent the inequality onto a number line. So x is greater than or equal to -1. So -1 is there. Greater than or equal to, greater than means the arrow's going this way. And equal to means I'm going to shade in that circle there. So that would be your answer to the second part. So that's just combining the two things that we've looked at so far. In terms of marks, you're probably looking at 2 marks and then 1 mark, something like that. Now, we can make these inequalities more complicated in the same way that we can make equations more complicated. The method is identical. You know, we still work to try and get x on its own and get the value of x. So with this, you can multiply out the brackets. So 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 5 is 10. From there, you're looking at the 10, and you're going to add 10 to both sides. And then you're looking to divide by 6. So we're going to write that as x is greater than or equal to 53/6. Now again, we can leave that as a fraction like that, as an improper fraction, or we could write it as a mixed fraction, or we could write it as a decimal. If you type that into your calculators, you should be getting 8.83 recurring, I think. Yeah, so 8.83 recurring if you want to write that as a decimal instead. Okay, and finally, just a slight variation again, just slightly more difficult, just because you've got variables on both sides. But again, you'll be familiar with the idea of solving equations like this. The idea is to get your x's onto one side, numbers onto the other side, and to isolate x as you normally do. So when I look at this, I look at 9x and 5x and think I'm going to move the 5x, just because it's a smaller amount of x there. So I'm going to take away 5x from both sides. going to subtract the 4. And then divide by 4. And again, I can write this as a fraction, negative 18 over 4, or I can write it as a decimal, and as a decimal that would be 4.5, so minus 4.5. Okay, so you could write it like that as well. Okay, so copy down some of those examples, try to explain that solving an inequality is just exactly the same as solving an equation, but you must make sure you leave the inequality sign in your answer. So your answer must contain that inequality sign to get all the marks there. Okay, have a go at the questions, and if you have any questions, please email your teacher. All right, thank you.